Hello, good evening. How are you? How are you doing? I believe you are doing great. Yeah, I'm happy to have you on board this evening as we'll be having a line of thought. I'll be sharing a thought with you, which I titled "You Can Be a Believer and Yet Be Very Poor." Okay, yeah, how to break off poverty. That's what we'll be discussing this evening. All right, as we are discussing, you can drop your comment. Okay, let me see your comment and all that, and you can share this link with those in your coordinates. So yeah, we will be discussing that you can be a believer and yet be very poor, how to break off poverty. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's this story that I read recently. Of course, I've read about the story before, but recently I came across the story again, and it was about this man of God that he died, and when he died, he was neck deep in debt before he died, and by the time he died, his creditors they actually came around to take his children. All right, and the wife had to go to another man of God, to seek for help. And of course, that will be what would actually inform our line of thought this evening. The first thing is that there was some testimonies about this man of God. He feared God. He feared God. In fact, it was written that he actually feared God, that he was righteous, and yet he was poor. In fact, very poor to the extent that his creditors they came around to pick up his children. They need to pick them up as servants or slaves. Okay, now he left two things for his children, and of course the first thing he left is the integrity that he has. He left two things. He has integrity. He was actually righteous, and we can actually testify of this. And the other thing that he actually left was debt. He left debt to the extent that the creditors they came around to pick up his children. So it is very possible for one to be a believer, for one to live a correct life, a holy life, and yet be very poor. And that is what informed this line of thought this evening, because it's not good to be poor as a believer. I need to let you know that poverty is actually a sickness. It's even possible that this man actually died from the poverty or from being poor. When he's supposed to take care of himself, if he doesn't have enough on him to take care of himself, he can die from sickness. And apart from that, we do know that when one is poor, some people complain of headache a lot. And the reason why they actually complained of headache is just because they don't have money. When one does not have money on its own is a form of sickness. So let's get to it. How to break off poverty. The first thing is that this woman actually sought for help. And that's the first thing, knowledge. Knowledge is the very first thing. If you want to break off poverty, you need to seek knowledge. When you are suffering from a thing, it's good you seek knowledge in that light. You seek knowledge in that aspect of life. If you're having trouble in marriage, then you seek knowledge in that light, in marriage. Now, if you're having trouble with your finance, you are not doing well financially, then you need to seek knowledge in that respect. This woman actually sought out for knowledge. She went to another man of God, and this man of God actually gave her. The man of God didn't pray for her. Hope you know that. The man of God actually gave her knowledge. Knowledge is actually power. So if you are poor, you need to seek help, and seeking help is in form of looking for knowledge. That's the first thing. It's important you seek for knowledge. When we talk of seeking for knowledge, of course it has to come in terms of sharing with people of like minds, or people that have gone before you. You need to know about the success story of people around you and all that. Okay, so you need to seek for knowledge. That's it. Now, the other thing is the next question is, what do you have? This woman in the story, the man of God actually asked her, "Hello, woman, what do you have at home?" And she actually replied that, "I don't have anything except a jar of oil." The question is, what do you have? What do you have with you? And that's it. You have to be aware of that which you have, because that can just be what can be turned to what would be a source of value for exchange for money for you. So you need to identify what you have that can be exchanged for money. Of course, that thing you have has to be valuable. So you need to add value to yourself. That's it. What you have. Now, the other thing, this woman, she was instructed to take the jar of oil and to pour into some other vessels. And of course, that's pouring the oil, and that has to do with growth. Another way in which you can break off poverty is you need to grow. Growth is actually very important. Growth is very important. If you need to break off poverty, you need to grow in that line of your value, in that line of that which you can identify that you have. You actually need to grow in it. In a particular skill, you need to grow in that particular skill. In a particular line of endeavor, you actually need to grow. There is room for growth. So if you need to break off poverty, that's another thing that is actually important. Okay, the other thing is launching out. Now, this woman was asked to get the jar of oil and, of course, pour into some other vessels. And we can liken that to launching out. So, if you actually want to break off poverty, you need to launch out. We thank God for the internet, and thank God for the several things that we share online and all that. There are several resources out there, and many people, they have attended different classes, they have attended different courses, they have read several books, but they are yet to launch out. May I say that it's enough going through another course or enrolling for another course if you haven't launched out. What actually makes the difference is the action. What makes the difference between a successful man and a man that is not is the launching out, is the action. So if you actually want to break off poverty, you need to actually launch out in that line of value. So we have mentioned some things. Some of the things we have mentioned include, what do you have? Is there a value that you have? And you need to grow that value of yours. And of course, if you find out that you don't have anything, probably, and of course, many a times you do not know that you have something, but in the actual fact, you do have that particular thing that can be of benefit to other people. Like this woman, the man of God asked her, "What do you have?" And she answered, "I have nothing except a jar of oil." So, as far as she was concerned, she has the solution to the poverty that she finds herself in, but she never recognized that jar. She never recognized that value. May I say that many people are poor because they never recognized the value that they do have. They never recognize that thing that can be of benefit to others that they actually have. We are unique. The fingerprint is unique to every individual. Likewise, there are things you have that other people do not have. May I say that there is nothing two persons do, there is always a touch of difference. And that touch of difference is the reason why people will actually look out for you, why they will actually seek for that value that you do have. So you need to actually identify that thing that you have that other people probably do not have. And maybe they have it, but there is a touch of difference, that you have that they don't have. And of course, when you identify that particular value or that particular potential, you need to grow it. You don't need to stay, you don't need to sit down with it. You need to actually grow it. And that is not all. You need to launch out. I listened to someone recently, and he gave some points about how to do a particular thing. And he mentioned up to about 10 points. And when he got to the last point, do you know what? The last point, he just wrote action. He just wrote action. And he said, you may think that this 10th point is probably 10% of what he has been talking about since the onset of the seminar. But he said what? He said this last point, which is the 10th point, is actually, it takes 90% of the whole thing, because that is what determines if you are going to get a result from the whole seminar or not. And that is action. That is launching out. You are probably poor because you are yet to have courage enough to launch out in that line of your value, or in that line of your skill, or in that line of that thing that you have, or in that line of that idea of yours. Okay, I hope you get that. The next point is capacity. The woman was asked to go get vessels. She had the jar of oil, but she doesn't have vessels, and that vessels can be likened to capacity. If you have that thing, you have that value, you have that potential, there is the place of building capacity, going to get vessels. You need to actually go to get vessels, and that is capacity, building capacity. I can recollect that when I started writing books, I probably got interest in writing books. I started writing until I met someone that was about 5 years ago or thereabout. And that person in person of Amiola Phillips, if he's hearing me, if he's listening right now, he probably would comment. When I met him, he actually increased my capacity in writing books, in publishing, in web design, and all that. It's true that I have a kind of value, or I have something in me in terms of writing, okay, but I had to gain capacity, or grow capacity to actually expatiate that value of mine, or to put a touch of excellence to it. Right now, I publish books. In fact, I probably can't count the number of books I have published. In the last 3 months, I've published up to 10 books for people, and on my side, I've written and published 10 books. And those books, they are internationally distributed. In fact, I remember that I had to put down some of my books. So, some years back, I had to redesign and republish. We are talking of capacity. That you can have a particular skill, but you need to actually increase your capacity in that skill of yours. I must say that the amount that I will pay for a particular product, same product, but the two products might be packaged differently. Capacity, you have to increase your capacity, just like this woman. She went to get vessels. In fact, she borrowed the vessels. She borrowed the vessels. Now, you don't have to have the whole resources to actually build capacity. Sometimes you may actually need to go out of your way to actually get capacity. I hope you get what I'm saying. You may need to go out of your way. You may need to have sleepless night. You may need to what's it called, enroll for some courses and all that. In fact, you may need to actually enroll for some paid courses. And you might need to even pay sacrificially, to increase your capacity. And believe you me, they are seeds. When you sow them, it will actually come back to you in multiple folds. I hope you get that. So that's another point I need to mention. Another thing I need to mention is many people are actually poor because they do not identify opportunity. And this is very, very important. Many a times opportunity do not announce itself. In fact, many a times opportunity disguises itself. It disguises as, it doesn't show itself that, okay, I'm opportunity, I'm right here. No, it doesn't. Now that means that it takes those people that actually have insights to identify a particular opportunity. Just like this woman, she was poor. The creditors came around to pick up her children. She has the opportunity right in her home. She had a jar of oil, but she never identified that opportunity. If you actually need to break off poverty, you need to identify opportunities. May I say that you should be happy when there is a problem? I hope you get that. Yes, you should be happy when there's a problem. When there is a problem, that is not the time to back out. In fact, that is the time to seek for opportunity in the problem. When you solve that particular problem, you have just created a value. And may I tell you, people will pay you for that value because they need solutions. They need solutions. So this guy, I mean, opportunities, it comes like problem. The COVID era actually taught us a whole lot of lessons in this respect. We had a whole lot of problems. People could not go to work, and so on and so forth. And some people went to sleep. Oh, we have a whole lot of problems. While some people, they took the horn. I mean, the cow by the horn, and they profile solutions, to the problem. I need to say again that opportunity, it sometimes does not show value on the surface. So you need to actually be insightful enough to identify the opportunity and to use the opportunity wisely. Another thing that debar people from breaking off poverty is that some people identify the opportunity, but they do not have the courage to go for the opportunity. Courage, it's important. Boldness is important because it's possible that you are the first person that is doing that particular thing. And because of that, some people are afraid. Do you know that many a times, those things we are afraid of, they do not actually happen. You should not be afraid to fail. When you fail, it's just a lesson of one way of not doing that particular thing. So you should not be afraid to actually fail. You should not be afraid to try out that particular thing. You should not be afraid to actually launch out. Yes, another thing that we learned about this woman, and of course which is a way to break off poverty, is a partnership. Now when she got the vessels, when the oil started flowing off the jar, her sons helped her, and that is partnership. That is partnership. She had sons that helped her. That's partnership. That's it. In business, concerning your skill, concerning anything you are doing, seek partnership. There's what we call relationships. It's of value. People, wealth is in different fold, of course. Wealth, wealth is not just about money. Hope you know that. Relationship is a form of wealth. Some people, they have good relationships, they have rapport with people, they have the buttons in some institutions and probably in some places, and that on its own is a form of wealth. Seek partnership. You understand? Go for people that are of value and seek partnership with them. All right. Now, when this woman, at a particular point, the vessels, they exhausted the vessels, and the jar of oil went dry. And you know what? Until that time, she still doesn't know what to do. She's yet to even get out of the state she met herself, which is, of course, poverty. She had all the resources, she had the product well packaged. She had the product already, but she cannot convert the product to money. She had to go back to the man of God. Excuse me, the what you told me to do, I have done that. The oil flowed, We got vessels, the vessels are full, but I don't know what to do. The man of God told us something: go sell the oil. I mean, if you got to break off poverty, you need to sell. You don't have to be afraid of selling. You need to sell that value of yours. You need to be confident enough to take money for the value you are giving people. You should not be afraid to take money for the value you are given. You need to sell. You need sales, marketing, very important when it comes to breaking off poverty. I've mentioned some points until now. I've mentioned your value. I've mentioned capacity building. I've mentioned partnership. I've mentioned launching out and so on and so forth. Now, if all these things are in place, you now have the capacity, you have increased your capacity, and so on and so forth, and you refuse to sell, you will still be poor. You will still be poor. So we have several people that are very spiritual, they are believers, and they abhor sales, they abhor marketing. That's wrong. So if you need to break off poverty, you need to think of a way to sell your products. And your products can be tangible, and of course, it can be that which cannot be touched. It can be tangible or the otherwise seen or unseen. Now, there is a clear instruction again to this woman. The instruction was to leave, live, to live on what she had. Don't forget that the oil had stopped flowing, but she does not have any clue. She didn't have any clue on how to break off poverty and to continue to be wealthy. So the man of God had to tell her, please, you need to live on what you have already. What does that mean? That means that there must be continuous productivity or continuous production. Now, if you have a product that you are selling, you have your skill, you have your value, you have your capacity, you have that idea, you have launched out, you have courage enough to launch out and all that. Now you are selling, okay, you are in the market. You need to understand that when people begins to buy, there is a need for continuous supply. I hope you get that. You need to supply continuously. And of course, this woman, she could have sold the oil and, just talk like that. No, that's wrong. You don't have to sell all. There is, there is a part of it that is your seed or that will serve as investment that you need to turn over. All right. I hope you get that. So that the production will actually continue. You need to actually invest a part of the value or a part of that thing of yours or a part of that product or a part of the returns, for continuous productivity. And this is very important. All right. Thanks a lot. Just by way of recap, I just mentioned that there was a man of God that was righteous and all that, yet he was very poor to the extent that when he died, he was neck deep in poverty or in debt before he died. And when he died, the creditors came to pick up his two children for slavery. The wife had to meet the man of God. And we got to know that from the conversation between the woman and the man of God, we got ways in which you can break off poverty. The first, the woman sought for help, and that is knowledge. You need knowledge if you need to break off poverty. The other is value. What do you have that you can offer? This woman, she didn't know she has anything until she was told. I mean, until she she was helped to identify with that particular thing. Now, growth pouring out, pour the oil, launching out, and of course, capacity building, partnership, opportunity, and all that. Of course, sales and all that. Thanks for joining me this evening. I do appreciate you for taking time out to actually join me this evening. All right, you can actually subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can just copy that link or copy it out, click on that link, and it will take you to my YouTube channel. So you please subscribe to the channel And of course, turn on the notification button so that anytime I drop a video or anytime I go live, you will actually get to see the content. All right. Thanks a whole lot. Thanks a whole lot. Now I have some books that you can actually get. You can get some for free. All right. I want to share the link with you. I want to share the link with you. I have some books. I've written 9 books and I've published them. You know, some are on my website. Okay, yeah, that's it. They are distributed globally. This is the all right. If you go via that link, you should be able to get that. Okay. You should be able to, yeah, that's the link over there. So you can just copy that, go to that site, and of course you will get some of those books. You can of course get some for free. There are some there that are for free, and of course, if you need to pay a token for any of it, so go ahead and do that. Thanks for joining me this evening. I do appreciate you. You can share this video with people around you. Thanks a whole lot. See you some other time. Um, I would communicate with you when I'm about to go live again to share a thought with you. Thanks a whole lot. Do have a pleasant evening. Thank you.